At the Crawford Academy of Magic, teacher Rena Restia announces that one-on-one mock battles will determine everyone's final class assignments. Ichino Cheyenne, a 17-year-old in Class C, steps into the arena with a confident smirk on his face. He tightens his glove, mentioning it's been a while since he's had a real match. Cheyenne mutters that he's going to enjoy this as he stares down his opponent. The signal to begin drops, and both students immediately face off in the center of the grid arena. Theodore casts Windblade, while Cheyenne prepares 2 magic circles of his own. The spells collide with a heavy impact, sending shockwaves across the floor. Theodore notes that their wind power is roughly equal as Cheyenne stares back calmly. Not satisfied, Theodore prepares another magic circle for a follow-up. He's shocked when Cheyenne suddenly fast-casts 3 fireballs at once. Theodore deploys a flame vortex shield, just as Cheyenne launches a water ball from a low position. The water hits the fire shield, instantly filling the entire arena with a thick screen of steam. Theodore uses a gust spell to clear the air, looking frustrated. Cheyenne stands ready for the next move with his arms held out wide. Theodore notices that a magic circle isn't being deployed this time. He starts wondering if Cheyenne has already run out of mana. He realizes it was a bluff when he sees the magic energy gathering at Cheyenne's feet. Cheyenne leaps up and shouts the name of a high-level spell, Lightning Sturman. Electricity crackles around Cheyenne as he brings the spell down on the ring. Theodore barely manages to throw up an earth wall to block the lightning. He notices the spell activation seemed strangely slow despite the power. Theodore stares at the barrier, sweating from the close call. Cheyenne doesn't let up, sending more fireballs crashing against the dirt wall. Theodore yells that he won't be beaten by basic beginner spells. He counters with a massive water vortex storm that sweeps across the arena. Cheyenne looks surprised as the massive torrent of water heads straight for him. The vortex slams into Cheyenne's position, completely obscuring him. Theodore is stunned because Cheyenne seems to have canceled his own spell midway. As the water clears, the entire ring is flooded with Cheyenne sitting defeated in the middle. Yufia Queen's Road watches from the crowd, her expression totally unreadable. Rena declares Theodore the winner of the match. Theodore walks away as Yufia keeps her eyes fixed on Cheyenne. She thinks about the 3 years she's known him and how something always feels off. His official records show he's a solid C-rank student with average scores across the board. Yufia realizes he deliberately delayed his spell and chose not to use a trump card. She suspects he's hiding his true power behind a carefully crafted mask. Cheyenne is actually overjoyed, laughing to himself about how well he played the role. He's thrilled that acting like he had a hidden countermeasure worked on her. Nearby, Theodore acts humble while his friends praise his victory. Cheyenne overhears another student asking how the fight really went. They mention Cheyenne's magic power wasn't impressive, but something else caught their attention. Cheyenne listens in as they suggest he might actually be the strongest in the class, making him beam with pride. Other students are gossiping about the match, wondering if it's true that a merchant's son like Ichino Cheyenne could actually hold his own against someone as strong as Theodore. Theodore was curious too, so he meets Cheyenne after the fight for a handshake and thanks him for the match. He pulls Cheyenne aside, asking if he was holding back a massive spell right at the very end of their mock battle. Cheyenne just gives a smug grin and insists that everyone saw his absolute full power. Theodore sits down and thinks about it, completely convinced that Cheyenne is definitely hiding his true abilities for some reason. He watches as Cheyenne heads out, still not convinced by the average student act. The scene shifts over to the student dormitory where the C-class students are housed. As you can probably guess, there's a lot more to this guy called Ichino's Cheyenne than meets the eye. Back in his room, Cheyenne flops onto the floor, dramatically claiming that the damage from the match was worse than he thought. But the reality is that he has zero hidden power. He's just a merchant's kid with no real magical talent at all. Since he was a little kid, Cheyenne absolutely loved reading heroic tales and admired the great mages in the stories. He worked relentlessly to try and be like them, even though his natural mana was basically non-existent. But during his teenage years, all those stories started influencing his head a bit too much. He eventually fell ill, not with a virus, but with a massive case of delusions. Ever since then, he's been living in his own world, completely detached from reality. He poses in front of the mirror and strikes dramatic stances, convinced he's the strongest mage alive. He genuinely believes he's an SSS-Rank powerhouse who is just hiding his strength from everyone else. He's deep in his own fantasy when a sudden knock at the door brings him back to Earth. It's his childhood friend Yuffie Queensroad, who just happens to be the Academy's #1 student and an S-Rank mage. She brings him a recovery potion, having heard that he had a tough mock battle earlier that day. Yuffie tells him not to overdo it and reminds him that he's still technically just a C-rank student. Shine immediately goes into character, telling her that even she can't measure the true power sleeping within him. He gives her a dramatic look and promises that he'll show her his real strength soon enough. Yuffie just gives a small smile and says, okay, clearly just humoring him like she's done for years. Shine is absolutely thrilled, thinking her response was the coolest thing he's ever heard. She asks if he wants to grab lunch together since the cafeteria is about to open. As they walk through the halls, everyone stops and stares at the weird combination of a top-tier student and a C-class guy. Shine is loving the attention, thinking his plan to hide his power and stay cool is going perfectly. He's got a huge smirk on his face as they walk, clearly thinking about something ridiculous again. Yuffie can see right through him and sighs, thinking about how much he's changed over the last 3 years. They arrive at the cafeteria, only to find Theodore and his friends picking on a C-class kid sitting by himself. Theodore is screaming at him, demanding to know why they should move for a weakling. Shine watches the group from the entrance, seeing how the other students are just ignoring the harassment. Yuffie stays silent, watching to see what Shine is going to do about the situation. Shine walks right over and greets the stocky blonde boy, Roni, with a big smile, asking if he can join them for lunch. Theodore tells him to back off, mocking the weaklings for sticking together. Shine just tilts his head, asking where these so-called weaklings are supposed to be. He looks Theodore dead in the eye and tells him he's clearly talking about himself, which really hits a nerve. Theodore grabs his collar and tells him to shut the hell up, while Yuffie watches with a worried look. Shine doesn't back down, telling the guy that while he might be superior in magic alone, he's lacking in everything else. He tells him that you can't measure a person's worth by their magical talent alone, leaving the bully stunned. He finishes his speech by saying that even the people they call weak have their own pride and their own way of living. Theodore stares at Shine in disbelief, realizing the C-class student hasn't been intimidated by him at all. Shine looks down, acting like he's about to reveal a deep, dark secret about the world of mages. He steps closer to Theodore, deciding that this is the perfect opportunity to show off his SSS-Rank persona. He leans into Theodore's personal space with an intense look, suggesting that they should all just have a nice meal together. Suddenly, Shine's eyes change, becoming sharp and terrifying as he uses a simple cosmetic spell to make himself look more menacing. Theodore and his friends are absolutely terrified by the sudden shift in atmosphere and decide to get out of the cafeteria as fast as they can. Shine is left alone, completely satisfied with himself for using what he thinks is his SSS-Rank aura to save the day. Yuffie Queensroad runs up, shouting his name with a worried look on her face. She needs to know if he's even okay after taking a hit like that. Roni is right there bowing his head in apology, but Ichino's Shine just brushes it off. He tells them this is nothing compared to his usual training routine. The blonde girl isn't having it. She gets right in his personal space, scolding him for constantly doing such reckless stuff. She keeps the lecture going until he jokingly asks if she's supposed to be his mother. That usually shuts her up for a second. In Shine's mind, stepping in when a classmate is in trouble is just the natural thing to do. It's not a big deal. He offers to treat her to something as an apology for making her worry, which completely floors everyone watching. Roni is losing his mind. He can't believe a C-rank guy is actually on casual speaking terms with the Academy's top student. The stocky kid starts questioning who he really is, wondering what kind of secret relationship they have going on. Shine just looks back with a bruised face and a blank stare, giving a very simple answer. He claims he's just your average, run-of-the-mill C-rank magic student. Totally unremarkable. With a quick snap of his fingers, he prepares to show off a little bit of what he's really capable of. A massive blast of energy erupts, and he strikes a dramatic pose, satisfied with his own performance. The other students are left in awe, even if they don't quite understand how a low-rank student did that. The rumors say Yuffie is cold and never smiles, but here she is at the table, nagging him to eat his carrots. On the surface, he's just a talentless eccentric with a weird personality that nobody takes seriously. But there's a dark sense that in the near future, he's going to be the only one who can save the school from total ruin. Welcome to the Gilbert Crawford Royal Academy of Magic, where the academic exam results have just been posted. The hallways are packed with students crowding the boards to see where they land in the rankings. Unsurprisingly, the name at the very top is Euphia, with a near-perfect score of 496 points. Cheyenne looks up at the list with a surprisingly serious expression, far different from his usual goofy self. The top student spots him in the crowd and walks over to check on his results. He plays it cool, crossing his arms and telling her that he did all right this time around. But she's looking at the breakdown. His scores are exactly 49 or 99 across the board. That's too precise to be luck. The boy just laughs it off as a crazy coincidence, but his eyes tell a completely different story. This guy actually has a brilliant mind that rivals the elite, but he's hiding it behind a mask of total mediocrity. The two of them walk through the halls together, creating a strange sight for the other students. Euphia gets a little bashful and asks if he's free tomorrow to visit a bookstore with her. He shuts her down immediately, claiming he's already got some big plans he can't miss. She's left standing there looking like a kicked puppy as he walks away without a second thought. He's got no time for bookstore dates when he's busy obsessing over his destiny and the enemies he has to defeat. The following day, a magic steam train chugs across a massive bridge, heading toward the heart of the capital. Cheyenne is leaning against the train door in a long, dark trench coat, looking every bit the mysterious shadow hero. He arrives in the royal capital's West District, a place bustling with markets and common folk. The boy blends into the crowd, keeping a sharp eye out for anyone who might be tailing him. He ducks into a dimly lit, narrow alleyway, intentionally leading his pursuers away from the main streets. He stops and looks back over his shoulder, telling whoever is there that it's about time they showed themselves. In his head, he's definitely playing up the drama, claiming he chose this alley just so they'd have a quiet place to die. A sinister grin spreads across a face hidden in the shadows. This guy clearly enjoys his work. The abominable phantom assassin steps out, impressed that Cheyenne realized he was being followed since the train station. Cheyenne stays completely calm, staring him down like he's just an annoying distraction. The killer decides he's done with the small talk and tells the boy he's going to pay for his arrogance with his life. He unleashes a dark thunder arrow, a jet-black streak of magical energy aimed straight for his target. Cheyenne catches the dark thunder arrow with one hand, absorbing the lethal energy like it's nothing. The assassin can't believe what he's seeing. Mirrored vengeance, the boy shouts as he prepares to send that same energy right back at the sender. He stares the killer down, telling him his luck just ran out the moment they crossed paths with the abominable phantoms. Cheyenne starts giggling like a madman, absolutely loving how cool he must look right now. To him, these back alleys aren't just gross streets. They're the perfect stage for an epic showdown. Nearby, a mother tells her daughter to keep walking and not stare at the weirdo laughing to himself in the corner. He decides it's finally time to wrap this up, but first, he needs one more dramatic finishing touch. He accidentally bumps into the rebel princess in her white hooded cloak, knocking her right off her feet. The boy asks if she's all right, but she just snaps at him to mind his own business and keeps moving. Cheyenne is immediately distracted by the massive, glowing necklace she's wearing. He thinks it's the coolest thing ever. She points a finger and tells him to watch where he's going next time. Cheyenne can only offer a nervous apology. Claiming she's a very busy woman, she leaves him standing there in the dust. He thinks she's a total snob, but then a realization hits him. Could this be the classic trope he's been waiting for? He decides there's only one way to find out, and activates his realm of phantom's magic. Dark shadows swirl around him as he begins tracking the girl's magical essence. He dives deeper into the vision, calling forth the abyss of memories to see her true past. The girl in the white cloak looks startled as the world around her starts to shift and warp. Cheyenne stares into the magical void, eager to uncover whatever secrets she's really hiding. The vision takes him to a grand castle where the girl is lying on her bed, bored out of her mind. The princess's attendant, wearing glasses, reminds her she has a formal dinner with other nobles to attend. The attendant insists that her entire schedule is booked solid for the foreseeable future. When the girl asks for a break, the blonde lady tells her she'll get exactly 10 minutes to herself in about a year. She snaps and says she gives up ordering everyone out of the room so she can change. The attendant reminds her to hurry since they're running out of time before the big event. As soon as the door closes, a mischievous smirk spreads across the girl's face. She uses a makeshift rope to climb right out of the castle window, laughing as she tastes freedom for the first time. Cheyenne snaps his fingers, ending the spell with a phantasm shatter. He laughs to himself, confirming his theory that she's a classic rebel princess who fled her monotonous life. He monologues about her weariness of the castle and how she's finally escaped her golden cage. The boy waves her off with a smirk, telling her to enjoy her freedom while it lasts. He's literally drooling at the thought of how perfect this setup is for his own hero story. Suddenly, he realizes he spent way too much time daydreaming and needs to get to the scene immediately. He makes it to the abandoned factory grounds on the outskirts of the city, looking out over the desolate landscape. He stands on the edge of a rooftop, noting that the howling wind adds just the right amount of atmosphere. He's actually glad he waited, because a dramatic entrance needs a proper breeze to blow through his coat. The crimson sunset looks like blood to him, a flawless backdrop for his final act. He laughs maniacally once more, fully embracing his fake role as the strongest magic swordsman, Shaun. Fast forward 3 hours, and he's still posing on that same wall, now under the light of a full moon. He thinks the moon has a special charm the sun just can't beat. Then, he hears voices coming from below. The rebel princess is running for her life, pursued by a group of thugs through the factory grounds. The goons corner her, laughing about how lucky they are to have stumbled upon her. Their leader spots the expensive necklace and decides that's the first thing they're going to take from her. The thug leader grins, telling the girl that after he takes the necklace, she herself will fetch a very high price on the market. He steps closer, promising she's going to show them a great time, and if she behaves, maybe they'll even keep her as a little pet. Desperate and cornered, the rebel princess screams out a final, hopeless and oh, as a hand reaches out to grab her. She trembles against the cold stone wall while the leader reminds her that in a place this desolate, absolutely no one is coming to save her. Suddenly, a calm voice cuts through the tension from high above, greeting the group of thugs with a simple, "Good evening, gentlemen." Cheyenne stands silhouetted against the massive full moon atop a ruined wall, looking down at the lively party with a mocking smirk. Striking his most dramatic pose yet, the boy asks the thugs if they would mind if he joined in on the festivities. The thug boss demands to know who he's dealing with while Cheyenne stands his ground, looking completely unbothered. Cheyenne puts on a mysterious smirk, really leaning into the theatricality of the moment. He delivers a line about being a shadow who hunts the wicked, and internally, he's absolutely loving how cool he sounds. The rebel princess recognizes him from town earlier that day, but Cheyenne just plays it off as a fated reunion. The thugs aren't impressed, writing him off as just another delusional kid. Cheyenne fires back with some trash talk about their hygiene, acting like he's way above their level. The boss is done playing games and asks if he's ready for the afterlife. Cheyenne just smiles through it. He doubles down on the drama, claiming he'll bury all 3 of them in a single coffin. The big bald thug gets the signal to end it, cracking his knuckles as he steps forward. Cheyenne's inner monologue is celebrating. This saving a girl trope is exactly what he's always dreamed of. The big guy summons a massive magic circle, and things suddenly get very real. Cheyenne's facade cracks for a second when he hears the guy's bones literally creak. This isn't some amateur. He realizes the odds of running into a legit mage in the ruins are slim, but he's managed to do exactly that. It's a B-rank flamethrower spell, which is technically way out of Cheyenne's official league. For a split second, the reality of the situation hits him. He might actually die here. See, Cheyenne is the strongest hero alive in his own head, but to everyone else, he's just a C-rank nobody. On paper, he's a total weakling compared to a pro mage. The thugs mock him, thinking his hesitation means he's scared stiff. Cheyenne forces a smile, pretending he was just admiring the light show. Internally, he's scrambling because his powerful spells take way too long to charge up. The thug boss offers him a chance to walk away if he gives up the girl. Cheyenne doesn't even consider it. He knows exactly what kind of man he wants to be. He tells them that no real man would ever run when someone is in need of help. The boss is sick of the speeches and gives the order to kill. Cheyenne remembers being a kid, wanting more than anything to be a mage who could protect people. He decides that if he can't protect this girl, then his power is completely worthless. The big thug unleashes his magic. A massive flare lights up the night, illuminating the entire ruin. The boss screams at his man for being too reckless and almost charbroiling the girl thereafter. Cheyenne is shaking on the inside after that near miss, but he maintains a smug look and asks why they're holding back. The third thug draws a knife, offering to slice him up since magic is too messy. Cheyenne calls him naive, claiming they still haven't grasped the massive gap in their power. He claps his hands together, announcing that it's time to show them what true magic looks like. The thugs hesitate, genuinely weirded out by his confidence. A magic circle forms as he begins an armament creation spell. A sword hilt materializes, and Cheyenne grabs hold of it. His eyes start to glow with a menacing red light. The thug with the knife starts to sweat, feeling the pressure. Cheyenne invites them to step forward if they want to be his next victims. The boss realizes something is very wrong. The level of magic control he's seeing isn't normal. He realizes they might be dealing with a member of the abominable phantoms. He recognizes the title, the Crimson-Eyed Fiendblade, and suddenly, the thugs are the ones who are terrified. Let's take a look under the hood of Cheyenne's ultimate powers. Chameleon Iris is just a basic trick to change eye color, and his cool sword? It's a low-level creation that's about as strong as a dry twig. It's all just for show. Cheyenne's inner monologue is screaming, though. He knows his bluff is the only thing keeping him alive, so he's got to commit to the bit until the very end. The thugs are absolutely broken, groveling in the dirt and promising to never lay a finger on a girl again if he'll just let them live. Cheyenne leans into it with a cold, terrifying gaze, asking if they really have the nerve to beg for mercy after challenging the Fiendblade himself. He gives them a look that says he's about to end their whole careers right then and there. He bluntly refuses their plea, standing tall and acting like he's got zero empathy for their situation. He decides to go full throttle with the persona, enjoying the fact that they're practically vibrating with fear. The thug boss is in full-blown panic mode now, swearing that they'll change their ways and live honest lives if he'll just spare them. Cheyenne puts his sword away, acting like he's mulling over his options. He admits he doesn't know their past crimes, but what they try to do tonight, trying to hurt a woman right in front of his eyes, is a sin he can't ignore. He tells them that the simple fact that they try to take him out for being in their way is more than enough reason for him to cut them to ribbons. He's really selling the unhinged killer vibe here. He asks them one last time, do they truly swear on their lives to change for the better? The thugs scream their confirmation, begging him to believe them as they weep for their lives. Cheyenne gives them a final warning. If they break this promise, he will hunt them to the ends of the earth. He leans in close to the boss, whispering that he'll find them no matter where they hide and personally end them. He tells them he won't say it twice and asks if they've got it through their thick skulls. He tells them to get lost, and they don't need to be told twice. They scramble away like their lives depend on it, which they probably do. As soon as they're out of sight, Cheyenne finally exhales. That was way too close for comfort. He switches back to his normal self, offering a hand and asking the girl if she's doing okay. Princess Luna is definitely not all right. She's furious, yelling at him for having the nerve to act all cool after barely doing anything. She points out that all he did was pull out a sword to scare them off without actually fighting. Cheyenne is taking some serious emotional damage here. She huffs, claiming she could have easily handled those guys on her own, while Cheyenne just stands there looking defeated. She can't even remember his edgy alias, calling him that villain called Reva whatever instead. Talk about a blow to the ego. Cheyenne tries to explain that he's not a villain and those rumors are just exaggerated, but she's barely listening. He drops another legendary line about following his own rules instead of society's ideas of good and evil. Luna is just staring at him like he's lost his mind. She decides that since he's slightly better than the thugs, she'll give him the privilege of escorting her back to the city. Cheyenne, ever the servant of his own hero fantasy, agrees to her request. As they reach the bridge, Cheyenne points out that they're almost back to civilization. Luna admits that even though he was a total meddler, his interference technically ended up helping her out. She decides that a reward is in order for his efforts, even though Cheyenne tries to brush it off. She won't take no for an answer, claiming her honor is at stake. Cheyenne's starting to realize she talks exactly like someone from the upper crust. She pulls out an incredibly ornate pendant and asks if this will suffice as payment. Cheyenne is mesmerized by how cool it looks, but he tries to be the humble hero and says it's far too expensive for him to accept. She just laughs, telling him that stuff like this is just lying around all over her house. Clearly, money isn't an issue for her. She tells him to just sell it and use the cash to upgrade his pauper lifestyle a bit. Talk about being blunt. When he still hesitates, she gets defensive, asking if he's rejecting it because it's dirty after being on her neck. She basically threatens to kill him if he doesn't take it. Cheyenne immediately buckles and takes the pendant before she can actually do anything crazy. For a second, the atmosphere softens as he tells her he'll treasure it. She gets all huffy again, telling him to do whatever he wants with it as she turns away. They finally reach the town, and she spots her acquaintances waiting for her. Cheyenne declares his mission officially over. He gives her a final, dramatic wave and bids her farewell before disappearing into the night. Just as Cheyenne is about to disappear into the night, the girl calls out to him, asking if she can ask one last thing. Cheyenne maintains his mysterious warrior act, asking what she needs. She finally asks the big question, "Who are you, really?" Cheyenne stands silhouetted against the distant city lights, preparing to drop what he thinks is the most main character reveal of all time. He turns back with a smug, confident smirk, telling her his name is Cheyenne Achinos, and that he's just a lowly C-rank magic student. The girl is absolutely stunned. After everything she saw, she can't believe he's actually just a student. Cheyenne confirms it with a casual, "Yes, really." She immediately snaps back in her bossy self, pointing a finger and telling him he'd better study hard then. Cheyenne waves a final goodbye, giving her a parting tip. Next time she decides to sneak out of the castle, she should probably hire a professional mercenary. The girl is left standing there, looking a bit surprised that he figured out her little secret so easily. As soon as he's out of earshot, Cheyenne's cool guy facade completely melts away into pure, geeky excitement. He's obsessed with how epic that parting line was. The girl watches him walk away, a small, genuine smile forming as she realizes there's more to this student than meets the eye. Cheyenne reflects on the encounter as he heads home, thinking her arrogance was so natural she could have easily passed for real royalty. Little does he know. Meanwhile, the girl's attendant, Aline, is in the middle of a total mental breakdown, crying and wailing for her missing lady in the middle of the street. Aline finally finds her and practically tackles her, weeping about how she almost lost her head and threatening to smack the princess for being so irresponsible. The girl just keeps walking, completely unbothered, and casually mentions that she was saved by a very strange man. Aline is left blinking behind her glasses, wondering if having a strange man save the princess is actually a good thing or a whole new problem. As they walk away, the girl's true identity is revealed. She's the third princess of the Gilbert Kingdom, Luna Lindisa Gilbert. She's exhausted and just wants to go home, while Aline continues to scream at her to act like a princess. The next morning comes far too quickly. Cheyenne's alarm rings in the early hours, signaling that the life of a C-rank magic student and a secret SSS class hero never really stops. Cheyenne claims he only needs an hour of sleep a day. He's always up before everyone else, getting an early start. To offset the exhaustion, he chugs a potion and pairs it with a specific recovery spell. Someone asks where he's heading so early. He's just off to the training grounds to get some work in. At Training Ground 7, he's alone, blasting fireballs at targets. It's a nonstop barrage as he pushes his magic to the absolute limit. Drenched in sweat, Cheyenne explains his method. Drain his mana to 0, so his maximum capacity is forced to grow. He collapses, gasping for air. To anyone else, this would look like a suicide mission. A flashback shows Euphia finding him on the floor. For the first 3 years of this, he almost died more times than he can count. The guy tells her he's finally seeing results by keeping this up every single day. He's smiling now, saying he's finally learned how to stay conscious even when he's at the absolute brink. After the drain, he chugs another potion to jumpstart his recovery rate. While waiting for his mana to refill, he sits there bare-chested and keeps his brain busy by reading. He looks pretty proud of himself as he closes the book. Cheyenne likes to optimize his downtime by catching up on academic texts. A montage shows him doing it all: physical training, sword practice, and intense magic study. Euphia asks what training actually means to him. He stops to think about a cool way to answer that. A dramatic pose and a claim that it's a ritual for true awakening. Inside, he's celebrating how cool he sounds. Euphia isn't buying the drama, just looking at him with a blank stare. He tells her he's done for the day. She's there in her pajamas, looking half asleep. She hands him a case of potions. Her sleepwalking is as bad as ever. Cheyenne gets back to it, successfully pulling off a lightning enchantment on his sword. The student puts in hundreds of times more effort than any normal mage. Despite all that work, he's still stuck at C rank because he hasn't been blessed with any natural talent. Euphia heads back to the dorms first, leaving him to finish up. The next morning, Professor Restia flags him down in the hallway. She needs a quick favor. Cheyenne's happy to help as usual. She hands him a key and asks him to fetch some lab equipment from the storage room. He makes his way to the room and gets ready to unlock it. The door is already open. Looks like the last person there forgot to lock up. He walks right in, not knowing someone is already in the middle of changing. It's Eliza Laurel, the 5th-ranked student. They're both completely caught off guard. Cheyenne's eyes go wide. He knows he's about to be in a lot of trouble. Instead of apologizing, he leans into his role play, clutching his head like he's being possessed. A shout to be silent echoes out as he acts like an ancient beast is trying to control him. The guy doubles over, pretending he's struggling to keep himself from destroying the world. Manic laughter follows. Eliza actually asks if he's okay. The student claims it's too late, as he uses magic to turn his eyes pitch black. He claims to be the god of destruction, Visago Deus Gregor. The monologue continues, calling mortals foolish and saying his seals have been broken. He vows to plunge all of humanity into absolute terror. Eliza just watches with a deadpan look. The act ends with a threat to the royal bloodline. He's really trying to use the shadow hero act to dodge the awkwardness. Eliza is losing her patience, demanding that Cheyenne drop the pathetic little act right this second. She starts charging a spell in her hand, warning him that the next time he opens his mouth, he'd better have dropped the performance. With a cold glare, she swears to God that she'll take his head clean off if he keeps playing around. Realizing she's actually ready to commit murder, Cheyenne immediately drops the persona and gives up. Eliza is unimpressed, asking if he seriously thought such a brainless, childish act would get him off the hook for peeping. She reminds him that he just spied on the Academy's 5th-ranked student, but Cheyenne counters that this is technically just a tool storage room. She snaps back that the real changing rooms were too far and she was in a rush, but that's beside the point. Cheyenne, now in full damage control mode, asks what it will take for her to finally forgive him. Eliza gets a dark look in her eyes, telling him she wants him to taste a humiliation far worse than what she just felt. Cheyenne seems to get it. He reaches for his waist and starts unbuckling his belt right then and there. Eliza is horrified, shouting at him to stop and asking what the hell he thinks he's doing. He explains that since he accidentally saw her underwear, he figured the only fair way to settle it was to show her his. She just calls him an absolute pervert. She changes her mind about making him lick her boots, figuring a creep like him might actually enjoy that kind of thing. Instead, Eliza Laurel formally challenges him to a duel to settle their score once and for all. They head to the 5th arena, a massive stage for high-level magical combat. Cheyenne is still hesitant, asking if they're seriously going through with this as he takes his place. He points out that there's no proctor or barrier, worrying that their magic might actually wreck the arena. Eliza just laughs, telling him he's worrying about nothing because the match will be over too fast for the arena to take any damage. Cheyenne notes her massive amount of confidence as she gets into her fighting stance. She formally introduces herself again as an heiress of the prestigious Laurel family and a top-tier Class A student. With a smug grin, she tells him not to bother remembering any of that since he's about to be reduced to ash anyway. Cheyenne takes the insult in stride, saying he'll return the favor before he's burned. He gives his own intro, Cheyenne Achinos, a Class C student from a humble merchant house. He adds that his only real claim to fame is being the guy marked for death for peeping at her panties. Eliza loses it, screaming that she's going to blast him into atoms. Shaking with rage, she swears she'll beat him so black and blue she won't be able to sleep unless he's broken. Cheyenne just shrugs, telling her he's ready whenever. His carefree attitude is clearly testing her absolute limits. They decide to start the match the moment a coin hits the floor. Eliza tosses it high into the air. The coin lands and the fight is on. Cheyenne activates body reinforcement, while Eliza counters with a massive hellfire sphere. A huge blast of fire erupts from her hand, surging across the arena toward Cheyenne. The entire stage is engulfed in smoke and flames as the powerful spell hits its mark. Eliza stands her ground, watching carefully as the dust begins to settle. Her eyes widen in shock when she realizes he dodged it completely. She can't believe a C-ranker could use a physical boost like that. Shine is already back on his feet, while Eliza clenches her teeth, declaring she's not done with him yet. He stays low to the ground, moving with speed that definitely doesn't belong to a mediocre student. Shine dashes across the arena, leaving Eliza struggling to keep track of his blurred movements. He weaves through the smoke and debris, closing the distance between them in an instant. Eliza realizes this guy is insanely fast as she suddenly feels a presence right behind her. She quickly spins around and casts Terra's shield, shouting for the earth itself to protect her. A jagged wall of rock erupts from the arena floor, barely blocking Shine's counterattack. She remarks that he's certainly surprised her by getting so close, but Shine just seems confused about what she's even talking about. As they face off, Eliza thinks about how magical affinity is usually predetermined from the moment someone is born. Most mages are stuck with one specialty: projectile, self-enhancement, or armament types. Master of two is rare, but Shine seems to be breaking all the rules. Eliza explains that while most mages only ever master one of the three branches of magic, there are incredibly rare exceptions. She thinks of the legendary SSS-Rank heroes, the ones who save the world from total destruction by mastering multiple systems simultaneously. Throughout history, anyone capable of such a feat has always been a top-tier powerhouse, at least an A-rank or S-rank elite. And yet, here stands Shine Ichinos, an ordinary C-rank student who appears to be a dual-aptitude wielder. She wonders why he's acting so calm while standing before a master like herself, someone with such rare talents. Despite his dual aptitude, she convinces herself that a C-ranker can't possibly defeat a true elite like her. Shine looks at her and simply agrees, telling her she's absolutely right about his rank. Eliza is caught off guard by his admission, her eyes narrowing as she tries to read his expression. With a chilling smirk, Shine reminds her that he's indeed merely a simple C-rank student. Eliza starts to sweat, realizing his confidence makes no sense for his rank. She decides she has to end this before he pulls a trick. She prepares her fastest spell, shouting that she's going to end the duel here and now. "Tempest Arrow!" she screams, unleashing a blindingly fast bolt of magical energy across the arena. She's certain she saw the spell strike its target, a triumphant grin spreading across her face as she claims her victory. A large explosion of smoke and light fills the spot where Cheyenne was standing, and Eliza starts to wonder who exactly. Her heart nearly stops when Cheyenne's voice calmly asks from right behind her who exactly she thinks she caught. She spins around to see him standing perfectly fine at the other end of the stage, as if he hadn't moved at all. Stuttering in disbelief, Eliza wonders if he somehow used teleportation, a feat that should be impossible. Cheyenne finally reveals his secret weapon, Limit Breaker, XL, as a dark, flickering aura surrounds his body.